How do you deal with variable winds?
I smell like the deer want me to smell like. I mean, they love smelling me. That gets my scent out all over the place, and then the deer come from every direction.
Anybody who's been downwind from you knows that is fake news, my friend.
That's like me and Joe were having an argument coming back from him falling through the swamp of which one of us stunk more.
Yeah.
In the truck.
We all voted for Dan.
I think I won that one. Yeah. But, variable winds are, it's tough. I just try to take the wind where it's supposed to be going, and I try to figure out why it's going a different way. I'll tell you what, variable winds used to kill me years ago. Just every hunch, it seemed like you had winds all over the place, until I started learning how to read the land and being able to determine how the wind's going to flow. I can look at, how the tree line's being hit by the wind and what's going to happen with it, how our opening's going to be affected by the wind. And I started sitting back a little from the opening so it's not swirling like a toilet bowl when it hits that. I started, looking at how the thermals and the winds are going to be hitting each other. And I started really trying to dissect what the wind's doing. And one thing that really helped me do that is milkweed, because it made me understand exactly what happens to that wind every time I'm sitting, every time it gusts, and just dropping that stuff all the time and looking what's going on as the thermals change in a day, as this goes on, as that goes on. You start to figure things out. You start to see too that the wind might not be variable where you're at, but where your wind is blowing, it's doing all kinds of crazy stuff. If you watch the milkweed go for a distance. So for me, it's really about exactly where you pick your spot.
And I have nowhere near the experience of any of you guys, right? But there was a situation I had earlier this year where I went into a brand new area. Wind was blowing a certain way. I thought, all right, here's where I'm going to set up, right? I started setting up, and all of a sudden, me and Dan were texting each other saying, oh, the wind was supposed to be out of here, and now it's switched to, completely different. And I just had to pull my sticks down and move, and I did a semicircle around the area. It happened to be a scrape, and work back and just switch spots. It was only a spike that came in, but it wound up being an off wind for the spike because there was that 90-degree switch. And if I would have stayed where I was thinking, okay, it might change, you just have to be, for me, I had to be willing to just pull up stakes and move a little bit. Now, eventually that little buck came into the scrape, and then he worked across, and he could smell where I walked and did that semicircle around the scrape. But I had him dead to rights. It just he wasn't the guy that put down the chest high rub. He was the guy that put the knee high rub down.
Yeah, that's a good point though, Dave. Be willing if you're in a spot where you feel like the wind's iffy or something's wrong. Like being mobile is important at that particular time, especially if you can pick a tree out real quick and be up and be down and back up in 30 minutes.
You don't really have to be right over the scrapes and rubs either. I mean, you just have to be where the deer travels in reach of it. And a lot of times I just get the feeling, when you find these clusters of scrapes and rubs, they seem to be where the wind swirls. It seems to be where they're smelling something going on, because they do everything based on their nose. And it just seems like where those sections are, where all that sign is, just it seems to be like the thermal spot where everything comes together, and you need to be out of that spot and off to the edge of it, kind of. Yeah. In a lot of cases.
And something else that can help is test out your height. Like sometimes if you may at 10 feet, maybe different wind than at 20 feet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something else that you can kind of play with if you have the time to. And then the fact of the matter is sometimes it ain't perfect, and sometimes you still kill one, or sometimes it ain't perfect and they blow you and they run to the next county. It's just that's part of it.
A lot of times I'm sitting on a just off wind and I'm taking a gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you're thinking, man, I'm gonna have to get the arrow in this thing quick if it comes in. But sometimes those are the hunts where I kill a big one.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go home saying I ain't ever doing that again, but then I do it again in 2 weeks.
Hey everybody, if you like the channel, make sure you subscribe right here. And if you like the clips, I got 2 more options for you. 2 options right here. Subscribe right here. See you guys.